So little tidbits and pieces of lore from Mario Puzo. The introduction, you have Wilderness and Neon, a short history of gambling, the honesty of gambling in Vegas, women of Las Vegas, behind the scenes, more gambling tales, the less than final word. At this point in my career, I have over 230 books on just the showgirls that are here in Vegas. You look at that, 30 girls available. It's legal in Nevada. Call, and here's the phone number. This is in the old gambling days. Las Vegas, and how they hope one day to go there. Not to make their fortune, they just want to see it. And the irony is that there's no reason for the existence of Las Vegas other than that it has legalized gambling. It's a desert in the middle of nowhere. It has no virtues of climate or natural resources. It has no ancient history or scenery to deny the tourists, but all rights, it should be still a dusty little town with a honky-tonk bust-out gambling joint and a few grubby motels. It should be a railroad whistle stop instead of a small metropolis which receives thousands of jet planes each year. How did such a miracle happen? Well, to be quite honest and frank about it, Las Vegas is the product of men reputed to have the most cunning criminal minds that America or the world has ever produced. And it's no small tribute to the dazzling alchemy of American democratic capitalism that the whole operation has turned out to be one of the most credible achievements of our society. Decadent society though it may be. There may be some who feel that Vegas is an abomination and should be destroyed. They would then have to argue, with me at least, that the oil companies are straight, the stock market is not a flim-flam, and that our South American foreign policy is not insane. They would even have to argue that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are more honorable than the mafia. So here you just have Mario Puzo throwing his opinions out. Introduction. Sore losers have always given gambling a bad name. Down through the ages, obnoxious winners haven't helped. Offensively, they claim their success comes through God's love, then spend their holy winnings on booze, horrors, and more gambling. Then there are the moral kibitzers, social reformers, religious leaders, political economists and theorists, even philosophers and psychiatrists. Almost universally they condemn gambling. And there are the natural hazards of gambling, the readers of marked cards, the riggers of loaded dice, the satanic fixers of sacred sports events. Given all this, it's amazing that the gambling lust still rages in the heart of men. But truth is that the gambling is a primitive religious instinct particular to our species. Cunning, modern man indulges a primary idolatry masked as a degenerate beguine with the grave images of roulette wheels, color ritualistic, playing cards, plastic cube dice that eons ago were made from the bones of dinosaurs and antelopes. More than other basically human appetites, gambling has been condemned as a vice without a redeeming virtue or a pardonable excuse. Drunkards are tragic, or romantics, murderers, interesting gourmand sex aficionados are approved and at least getting some of their money. Politicians and businessmen, most of them deadly enemies of the human spirit, are applauded as servers of builders of our society. Religious leaders whose supreme hustlers are the long shot are reverted, but gamblers are sneered at because most people think of gambling as a foolish vice. You give away your money for nothing. Wilderness and Neon. So check out the old vintage Vegas compared to the Vegas that you come to see when you visit. Las Vegas is psychologically the most dangerous place to gamble. The casinos are open 24 hours a day. They have the most sophisticated method. You know, I got to tell you though, on that note, I've been to Indian casinos in Palm Springs, Sonoma County, California, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, all the different Indian casinos that you see sprouting up between San Diego and Seattle. And they don't have the lure of Las Vegas, the shows, the boutique, the places to get away and rest, the pools, the swimming pool parties, the cocktail waitresses, the lounges. Sometimes you go to these Indian casinos and they're just smoke-filled tents, like the ones that I went to that were near when I visited Mackinac Island and went up to Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. north of Detroit. I couldn't even breathe when I went inside. But when you come to Vegas, even if you say you lost in Vegas, the difference of losing in Vegas and losing at an Indian casino on the way to San Diego is just a much different feeling, because you had the experience of one of the greatest towns in the world, the honesty of gambling in Las Vegas, bingo, ponies, the girls that are here. You know, Mario Puzo writes about how this is the inspiration that inspires a screenplay writer, a novelist, a filmmaker, a photographer, a showgirl, a dancer. A lot of these people that I do books on, they left a bad marriage and they came here and they made more money as a cocktail waitress than their entire family working as clerks for the local grocery store where they grew up in. And they got to meet world-famous chefs, showmen, card dealers, managers, people that work their way up in the casinos. Just recently, somebody won $1 million. Mario Puzo's early career as a gambler grew quickly from Christmas Eve family card games to teenage poker on the streets of New York. His youthful instincts were nurtured in Army training camps and as a member of the Civilian Conservative Corps in Nevada. Although his first foray into the casino saw him spending his last $3 not at the craps table, but buying drinks for a pretty girl. Since then, he's gambled on everything from baseball games to the stock market, has lost as much as $30,000 at a time, and has walked out of a casino with as much as $10,000 in his pocket. The man who wrote The Godfather believes that gambling has bettered his character, kept him out of prison, preserved his marriage, and helped him to bring up 5 children in Pleasure Beach and successful. He loves Las Vegas. Now, even when I worked in San Francisco for Jim and Artie Mitchell, one of the things that made those brothers famous was that their father was a professional poker player outside of Reno, Nevada, and Antioch. They're over there in the Sierra Nevadas, near Grass Valley, and all these amazing areas where you have the pioneer spirit from the early casinos. And these men learned how to make money. Short history of gambling. It's hard in the time of these atomic bombs, pervasive sex, the justification of drugs, to understand the horror of gambling expressed by so many social organizations, religious sects, and the assortment judgment makers. But a history of gambling justifies their horror. The biggest and first craps game is mentioned in Greek mythology. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades rolled dice for shares of the universe. Poseidon won the oceans, Hades won the underworld, Zeus won the heavens, and is suspected of having used loaded dice. The second biggest bet ever made, according to legend, is the god Mercury, gambling at tables, whatever that means, with the moons, and winning from her the 7th part of each of the illuminations, which added up to 5 days. This is why the earth has 365 days rather than 360. I note in passing that it is a he winning from a she, that no money passed hands, that no mention is made of what Mercury would have lost if the moon had won, or why Mercury thought the earth needed another 5 days. Maybe that's how wishing for the moon got its start. But what the hell, it's just another gambling story. The English word gaming comes from the Saxon word gamen, which is defined as joy, pleasure, sport. That's one definition. Another definition is to play extravagantly for money. There was a period when gambling was as deadly and widespread as a virus, as the bubonic plague. But look at what all this gambling led to. Writing novels by Mario Puzo, the characters, the screenplay, Francis Ford Coppola assembling the cast, pre-production, was all based on stories that Mario Puzo gained while gambling. It says here, a pre-movie edition of Puzo's novel and a Brazil aftermath of the film's stunning success, the latter featuring the shadowy image of Marlon Brando's face on the cover. Author Mario Puzo, with both men's careers, benefited enormously from the involvement in the movie, as did many others who participated in the project. Of course he went on to gambling, and he was probably gambling while the movie was made. I wouldn't be surprised if these cast members had a table where they had cards that were out. Even Don Corleone, if you read through the scripts here, he had the gambling. He didn't want to get involved with the drug trade. He had the gambling. He had the casinos. He had the alcohol flowing during Prohibition. Come to Las Vegas, have an adventure, tell people about it, record it, write it, sketch out your characters. You'll find them along Las Vegas Boulevard.